Hey, excellent people. Being an ADHDer or an autistic can make building and maintaining friendships feel like navigating an invisible maze. While neurodivergent individuals often have unique strengths in forming deep, authentic connections, certain aspects of friendship can present unexpected challenges. Let's explore some common barriers and practical solutions for making friends as a neurodivergent adult today on the Neurodiverging podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the show. I'm Danielle Sullivan. I'm your host. I'm happy you're here today. Today, we're doing a follow-up episode on friendships. We talked earlier in the season about how to make friends, and now we're digging into how to keep friends, which is a pretty important part of maintaining that relationship. I hear from a lot of coaching clients and have my own personal experience of it being hard to maintain a connection, even one with somebody you really love, once you have started it. So today we're going to talk about a couple of the most common challenges autistic and ADHD folks face with that and give you some tips for conquering those. Before we get to it, I do want to thank my patrons over at patreon.com/neurodiverging. If you're our patron, thank you so much. It really helps us keep going with the podcast, and funding goes to support our low-income folks on our sliding scale waitlist. So thank you for supporting us. If you're interested in being more involved with Neurodiverging, I really encourage you to go over to neurodiverging.com. We have a free workbook on managing sensory overwhelm you can grab, and it will get you onto our mailing list, and you can learn more about what we're doing and get more involved. Thank you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the energy cost of social interactions. So for a lot of us autistic and ADHD folks, we know that social interactions require a ton of mental energy. What a neurotypical brain might experience as casual and easygoing can feel like running a mental marathon for us. The social battery drain can make consistent friendship maintenance very challenging. So, one thing that you can do if you are struggling with this particular issue is to create some energy conscious friendship routines. Friendship is one of those things that a lot of us have this belief that we're supposed to just be able to know how to do, and then we shame ourselves when we can't do it. Knock out that shame and just take a minute with me and recognize you're doing your best. This stuff is hard. It's okay to have explicit directions and need an explicit instruction on how to make this work for you. So create an energy conscious friendship routine. Schedule shorter, more frequent check-ins between in-person meetings. Try some 15-minute video calls or voice message exchanges, and that can help you maintain this connection without depleting your social energy reserves. I can tell you that in a lot of my experience, I got it into my head that I had to have these long, intense conversations. And even though I enjoyed them at the time, I was always so exhausted afterwards. And so what happened is because I knew I was going to be so exhausted afterwards, I sort of started dreading the long, intense conversations. And then I started avoiding them. And then it would be a month since I talked to my friend, and that would be 3 months, that would be a year, and that would be 5 years. And then you sort of feel awkward restarting it. First of all, if that's you, I hear you. Second of all, your friend probably still would love to hear from you, even if it's been 5 years. And third, one way we can avoid that avoidance shaming cycle thing that happens is to just go in there and be like, hey, I love you. My brain will let me talk to you for 10 minutes today. Can we do that? Right. And then you're not putting all this weight on these long, hefty, big energy kinds of things. The next challenge that I hear from a lot of folks is around time blindness, or what's sometimes called time agnosia, and needing follow through. What we often call time blindness is also called time agnosia. And it's that aspect of being an ADHD or autistic person where you just don't really understand how much time has passed sometimes. So it can feel like we've been waiting for an hour and it's actually been 2 minutes, or we can be deep in our special interest for literally hours or days, and it will just feel like a few minutes has passed. This mismatch between our internal understanding of time and what's actually happening externally is sometimes called time agnosia or time blindness. And this, of course, can make scheduling and keeping social commitments super tricky. So even when you genuinely want to meet up with friends, you might struggle with planning and following through on that. And you might also just like look up and have missed the appointment. And that can be really, really challenging and hard to handle. So a couple of things you can look at for this. First of all, you can use immediate calendar scheduling. When someone suggests meeting up, just pull out your phone like right that minute and schedule it, and add a lot of reminders. You can also consider using apps that share your ETA with friends to manage timing expectations. And one thing I'll also say is many of us say, okay, I have half an hour, and we go in, and then half an hour passes and we're having a good time with our friend and we lose track of time. And so it can be helpful to sort of pre-plan that by putting reminders in your phone, setting little ringers up to go off at certain times, and also to explicitly tell your friend, like, hey, I'd love to catch up. I'm here for an hour and then I've got to go pick kiddo up, and then have alarms going so that you can remember to pick kiddo up, right? So those kinds of things can really help. Okay, the next piece that we hear a lot of challenges with is sensory overload in social spaces, which I'm right there with you. Sensory overwhelm is a huge piece of why I avoid certain kinds of environments in my outside my home, really. So first of all, if you haven't downloaded our Managing Sensory Overwhelm guide, we have a workbook. I think it's like 14 pages, 11 to 14 pages, somewhere in there, that you can download from our website at neurodivergent.com. It is a free workbook, and you can print it out or you can do it as a PDF, and it will walk you through how to think through what your sensory challenges are and then how to mitigate them or reduce them in whatever ways seem right to you. So you're basically going to be creating a personalized plan by yourself to mitigate sensory overload. So first of all, stuff like that can really help if you haven't looked into it before. The other thing we hear is that a lot of people have this idea in there, and again, we're telling ourselves something in our heads is saying, oh, you have to meet friends in sort of noisy social venues. You have to go to a restaurant, you have to go to a bar, you have to go to a busy coffee shop. And all those things can trigger sensory overload. And that makes it difficult for us to focus on building the friendship and maintaining the friendship and being ourselves. And your friend probably wants to hang out with you and not the person who is being overwhelmed by like the coffee grinders going on again. So some things that can really help are to come up with a short list on your own of sensory friendly meetup locations, places that you like that are quiet, that there are times that are off peak, or maybe you want to meet at home or the library or a park or something like that. So think of some places where you feel good and comfortable in your body meeting there, especially places that can provide more controlled environments like climate control, like noise control, and be upfront about your preferences with your friends, right? Sure, there are going to be people who really want to try that new restaurant. Hopefully, if they're your friend, they'll understand that you might not be the person to try that new restaurant with them, but you might be the person to go to the library with, or check out the coffee place with, or go for a walk with. Good friends will get that. Our second to last one is the masking burnout cycle. So we have reams of information about this on neurodiverging.com and other podcast episodes too. But basically, masking is a term that's mostly used in by autistic folks, and it's about hiding your neurodivergent traits to fit social expectations. And masking can be utilized helpfully. It helps us get through difficulties in the neurotypical world, but it can also lead to burnout because we're using so much energy to constantly mask who we are. If you're somebody who has to mask to survive in the world, then you are sometimes going to be going into burnout, and that can make it hard to maintain consistent friendships. Additionally, even if you're trying to demask and you have the privilege to be able to do that, sometimes life just lifes at you and you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to burn out and you're not going to be able to do stuff for a little while. And that can be anywhere from a week to a year, right? And so many adults with autism, but also with ADHD, struggle with this sort of invisible emotional labor that comes as someone who sometimes masks. So the there's lots of things we can do to work on masking, and we have group programs inside the Patreon if you're ever interested. But the most helpful thing we can say initially is to start small with authenticity. So choose one trusted friend and just practice being more open about your needs and your natural communication style. And this can create a foundation for more genuine connections across your social circle. You end up knowing more people who actually get you and like you for who you are, and then you have a space where you don't have to mask as hard. And that can help you reduce that masking burnout cycle and also actually meet people who like you as opposed to the person you're pretending to be, which relieves so much overwhelm and shame and guilt and other sort of feelings from us that it can be a huge lift off of our shoulders. And so if you are able to do that, that's something we super highly recommend. And then the last thing I just want to talk about briefly is interest-based connection challenges. So neurodivergent folks, we have these intense interests, right? And These interests don't always align with typical small talk kinds of things. I will ask you about the weather, but I don't actually want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about your deep feelings and emotions and what you think about the world, right? That means, like, yeah, I'll sit through small talk, but it's not the way that I'm going to connect to you as a human, right? This can make initial connection building feel really forced or unnatural. And I will say, in case there's somebody who doesn't know this, that in the research, a lot of neurodivergent and especially autistic folks, we want to talk about value based interests. Neurotypical people, in order to create connection, do want to talk about these lighter, more typical small talk ideas first. And so, depending on who you're hanging out with, it's good to kind of have fluency in both types of ways to make friends, right? Because different kinds of brains will want to connect with you in different ways and will learn to trust you in different ways. So, I'm not trying to like ditch the small talk completely. I am saying that if you're somebody who is a sort of deeper thinker, that small talk might not help you feel connected to new people. So, something you can do that has really been valuable for a lot of clients is to seek out interest based friendship opportunities. So, join online communities like our Discord community or local groups that are focused on your special interests. If you're into crocheting, find a crochet group. If you're into books, find a book group. If you are a maker and you want to 3D print all the things, go find your local maker space, right? Find people who like the same things you do. And these spaces often naturally attract other neurodivergent adults, which is one nice thing. But also, because you already have a built in thing to talk about, because you have a common interest, this can make friendship formation feel a lot more organic and authentic and just easier. And so, even though it might be hard to find a new thing and actually figure out how to get there and do it, it is so worth the initial discomfort to connect with folks who like the same things you might like. Before we wrap up today, I just want to say that I hope that you'll remember that building meaningful friendships as a neurodivergent adult isn't really about forcing yourself to fit neurotypical social patterns. It is about finding and creating connections that honor your authentic self while meeting your social needs, right? You're a human. And even if you're a hyper introvert like myself, we need people. We like people. We are a social species. So I encourage you to think about what's one thing that you could do that would help you keep these friendships around and make more friends as you grow. And if you'd like to let me know, leave a comment on the transcript blog post, and I would love to hear what you're doing. I would love to hear what you're doing. If you are looking for more support in building friendships or just need any other support, our neurodivergent affirming coaches understand these techniques of supporting these challenges really well and can help you develop personalized strategies for social success. So please reach out today to learn more at neurodiverging.com. We are all neurodivergent folks ourselves. So we have the coaching training, many years of training in all cases, and also the lived experience of having been where you are before. And we would love to get you some support. Please also check out the transcript and lots of other more resources over at neurodiverging.com and look down below for a link to our Managing Sensory Overwhelm workbook if you would like to grab that. Thank you so much for being here today. Please leave a like and subscribe if you would like to. We would enjoy having you around. And thank you again to our patrons for making this podcast possible. Please remember, we are all in this together.